Welcome to the Depth Dive. Today, we're tapping into something pretty special. It's the firsthand experience of angel investor Charlie Songhurst.
Yeah, I mean, the sheer numbers are kind of staggering, aren't they?
Wow.
483 angel investments.
Exactly. 300, still active. Just think about the learning curve there.
hmm It's like a massive real-world lab for startups. Seeing what works, what really doesn't.
Right. A high-stakes education, basically. What makes them fly, and maybe more importantly, what trips them up.
Totally. This isn't just, academic theory. It's wisdom earned the hard way from being right there in the trenches with hundreds of companies.
So that's our mission today. We want to pull out those key lessons, the core insights, and give you a clearer picture of how early-stage investing and, well, company building actually works.
Whether you're thinking about investing or maybe you're a founder yourself or, just curious about innovation.
Yeah, this deep dive into Charlie Songhurst's thinking based on our source material should be, well, really useful.
Okay, so where should we start? Maybe with the reasons startups actually fail. It's interesting because as Songhurst says, it changes, right?
Yeah,
Depending on the stage.
that's right. It's not just one reason. Let's unpack the really early stage first, like pre-seed to seed. He talks about a failure to achieve labor productivity. What does that actually mean on the ground?
It basically means the founding team, even if they're smart people individually, they just don't click. They don't produce effectively together.
So communication issues, maybe unclear roles, that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Or just inefficient ways of working. They're not actually getting stuff done, even with a good idea. It really shows how vital that early team dynamic is. Can they execute?
Got it. So you need the team to actually drive the idea forward. Okay, then moving on. Seed to Series A. The failure mode shifts, he says, to failure to find product market fit.
The gold prospecting phase, as he calls it.
What's the key takeaway there?
Well, product market fit is that, magic point where your product really hits a nerve of the market. People need it. But Songhurst is clear. There's a big element of luck here.
Right. You can do everything right, great team, great product, but the market has to be ready, has to actually want it.
Exactly. It takes timing and sometimes, just luck. You have to find those customers who truly love what you're offering.
Okay, so rigorous validation is key then, finding that real demand. Now, moving later, Series A and beyond, the issue becomes failure in management scaling. What's that about?
This is where founders who are amazing leading, say, 10 people suddenly find themselves with 30, 50, maybe 90 staff. And they struggle.
How so?
The old ways don't work anymore. That informal, everyone knows everything style breaks down. They might not have the skills or maybe even the desire to build like actual management structures, delegate properly.
It's a totally different job, isn't it? From builder to manager of managers.
Completely. And then if they scale even further, Series B and beyond, another potential pitfall is the failure to build proper institutions.
Institutions. What does he mean by that? Like formal departments?
Pretty much. The stuff that seems less exciting but is absolutely crucial, like solid finance teams, proper legal support, HR departments that can handle complexity.
Right, the infrastructure you need to support a bigger company?
Exactly. If you neglect that, it creates massive bottlenecks. It can even, put the whole thing at risk.
It all ladders up to this quote from Songhurst that really stuck with me. The angle of the decline of productivity per person is the difference between the great startups and the failures.
That's a powerful one.
He paints this alarming picture of a 100-person company being less productive than when it was just 10 people.
Yeah, it's a scary thought, but it happens.
Yeah.
It really highlights that growth isn't just about adding more people. For you listening, that's crucial.
It's about scaling effectively.
It shows the cumulative impact. If the early team doesn't work, if you miss product market fit, if you can't manage the scale, if you don't build the support structure, efficiency just plummets.
Okay, so understanding those failure points at each stage is super helpful. But let's flip it. What about success? What traits does Songhurst see in founders who actually make it work? He has that interesting way of asking them about vices and virtues, right?
Yeah, it's a clever way to understand what really drives them: power, money, fame, versus working with great people, solving cool problems, making an impact.
So based on all his experience, what are the key attributes? He's got 10, I think?
10 key ones, yeah. The first is fit for their specific market.
Yeah.
And the point here is there's no single ideal founder type.
Right. He says consumer founders often need deep empathy, understanding users.
Whereas enterprise founders might need more rationality, a really logical grasp of business needs. Context is everything.
Okay, makes sense. What's number 2?
Willingness to make tough people decisions. Specifically, how quickly they address early hires who aren't working out.
Ah, so decisiveness about the team early on, that shapes the culture, I guess.
Hugely, which leads to the third one. Focus on recruiting quality over speed.
So resist the pressure to just hire quickly after funding.
Yeah. Songhurst apparently believes spending a lot of time, maybe even 100 hours per key hire, is worth it. Finding those real difference makers pays off exponentially. For you, that means prioritizing impact over just filling roles.
Quality over quantity. Okay, the fourth one sounds a bit academic. Ability to create algebraic functional labor output. What's that in plain English?
Yeah, it's a mouthful. It's basically about synergy. Not just hiring stars, but hiring people who make the whole team better than the sum of its parts. Like a great sports team where players elevate each other.
Ah, okay. That team chemistry thing. Finding people who click and multiply each other's efforts.
Well,
That's avoiding academic project syndrome.
right. This is crucial. Don't get lost in how cool the tech is or how interesting the problem is from like a purely intellectual standpoint.
It has to solve a real problem people will pay for.
Exactly. Focus on commercial value, not just prestige. The next one is fundamental. Understanding unit economics.
Okay, this seems vital for sustainability. What's the core idea?
It's about knowing if you actually make money on each customer or each sale, fundamentally. Not just looking at overall revenue growth, but asking, like, is this business profitable at its core as it scales?
So looking at customer acquisition cost versus lifetime value, things like that.
Precisely. Building on solid ground, not just hoping profit appears later. Number 7 is avoidance of premature scaling. We touched on this.
Yeah, the danger of hiring too fast, especially after raising money, the bulge hiring.
Right. It's about steady, quality-focused team building, not these sudden expansions that often cause chaos and then lead to hiring freezes anyway.
Okay. The next two seem related to managing growth internally, dampening office politics.
And transitioning from influence to formal management.
Both about handling the complexity as you get bigger.
Yeah. As you grow, internal conflicts can really suck energy and focus. Good founders manage that proactively. And they also have to shift their own style. From leading everyone directly through personal influence, which works when you're small, to building actual management structures and trusting others to lead. You can't be in every meeting anymore.
You have to empower people.
Yeah.
Okay, and the last one, number 10.
Ability to envision themselves at scale. He calls it the public company conference call test.
Huh. I like that. Can they genuinely picture themselves leading a huge, maybe even public company?
It speaks to their long-term ambition, but also their potential to adapt and grow into that role. It's a good gut check.
That's a really practical set of 10 attributes. It gives you a solid lens for looking at founders. Now, Songhurst also has this framework for thinking about where the opportunities are, the investment quadrants.
Yeah, this is really interesting. He maps things on 2 axes, boring versus interesting, and simple versus complex.
And the punchline is, where does he say the best returns are found?
Okay, get this. It's in the quadrant that is highly boring and highly complex.
Wow, okay. That definitely cuts against the usual hype around, flashy, interesting tech. What's the logic?
His argument is pretty straightforward, actually. In those boring and complex sectors, there just aren't as many entrepreneurs lining up to tackle the problems.
Fewer founders means less competition.
Exactly. Less competition for the ideas, less competition for funding, which, he argues, leads to potentially higher returns for those who do venture in.
So while everyone's chasing the next big thing in AI or whatever,
Maybe the real opportunity is in, like, super niche, complicated accounting software for, I don't know, the shipping industry. Something non-obvious.
that lack of glamour can be an advantage.
And think about talent, too. The interesting fields pull in tons of smart people, right? Which means fierce competition for the best engineers, marketers, etc.
Whereas the boring, complex areas might fly under the radar a bit more.
Potentially, yeah. Maybe it's easier to build a dedicated team without fighting Google and Meta for every hire. It's a counterintuitive way to look for value.
Really makes you think. Okay, so switching gears slightly, but related, identifying trouble before it happens. He also laid out 12 signs a startup might be headed for trouble. Red flags, essentially.
Yeah, and again, this comes from seeing these patterns play out hundreds of times. The first one is original sin in capital raising.
Meaning, bad terms on a deal.
Bad terms, yeah, or bringing in difficult or misaligned early investors. Stuff that creates problems down the road.
That first deal really matters. Okay, number 2.
Hesitation to exit poor-fitting early employees. We talked about the flip side, decisive action. This is the warning sign when founders don't make those tough calls.
Letting problems fester in the early team. Got it. Number 3.
Turning the business into an academic project. Again, losing sight of the commercial reality, focusing on interesting problems over market needs.
Right. And 4th is ignoring unit economics in favor of growth.
The classic growth at all costs trap, assuming profits will just appear later.
Heard that one before. What's number 5?
Bulge hiring after fundraising. That premature scaling thing again, a big hiring spree that's often unsustainable.
Followed by painful cuts later, usually. Okay, 6.
The really worrying sign of declining output per person as the team grows. That productivity metric we discussed, it's a clear sign something's wrong with management or structure.
A key health indicator for sure. 7.
Competing in overcrowded talent markets. Just making life incredibly difficult by trying to hire against giants in hyper-competitive areas.
Setting yourself up for a tough battle. 8.
Failure to dampen interdepartmental politics. Letting internal conflicts spiral and drain energy.
Yeah, when teams fight each other more than the competition, that's bad news. What are the last 4 flags?
Okay, number 9 is the hybrid remote office problem. Specifically when the way it's set up creates unfairness or resentment between groups.
Oh, interesting. The implementation matters hugely there. 10th.
The network effect fallacy. This is assuming your business has strong network effects when actually it doesn't, and building your whole strategy on that flawed assumption.
Building on shaky ground. 11.
The value is in the data, last gasp. This is often like the final argument when the main business isn't working. Oh, but we have all this data. Usually it's not enough.
A sign of desperation, maybe. And the last one, 12.
Misaligned founder motivations. When what drives the founders personally is no longer aligned with what the business actually needs to succeed.
That's a really comprehensive, practical list of warnings. Okay, so bringing it back to opportunity, where does Songhurst think people should be looking now for those overlooked gems?
Well, his big statement is, the most misvalued asset in the world today is probably entrepreneurs in markets that are non-obvious.
Non-obvious markets. That pushes us beyond the usual suspects, like where?
He specifically mentions secondary cities and regions. Think outside Silicon Valley, New York, London. He uses UiPath from Romania as a prime example. Massive success, built far from the main hubs.
Right, talent and ideas aren't confined to just a few places.
And he doubles down on those boring but complex industries. That quadrant again, less competition, often real, unglamorous, needs to be met.
Okay, so geography and industry type. Anywhere else?
Yeah, he talks about geographically dispersed networks, finding value by connecting people and ideas across different places, getting diverse perspectives, not just relying on the echo chamber of one tech hub.
Makes sense. More diverse inputs.
And finally, he suggests looking seriously at businesses without strong network effects.
Really? After warning about the fallacy.
Well, his point is that most successful businesses actually don't have strong network effects. While they're great if you have them, making them a mandatory requirement means you overlook tons of potentially great companies. Don't let the search for the perfect network effect blind you.
That's a great reality check. It's about widening the aperture, isn't it? Geographically, industry-wise, even in terms of business model. Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive into Charlie Songhurst's insights, what are the main things you, our listener, should really walk away with?
I think there are 3 big ones. First, understand that startup failure isn't random. It often follows patterns linked to the stage. Knowing these can help you spot risks, maybe avoid them.
Right. Be aware of the typical challenges that precede Series A, Series B, etc.
Second, pay attention to those 10 founder attributes. They're not a perfect checklist, but they offer a really solid framework for thinking about leadership quality.
Evaluate the people behind the idea. And third,
adopt a more, let's say, contrarian view when looking for opportunities. Don't just follow the crowd. Look at those boring, complex sectors. Look outside the main hubs. Be willing to explore the non-obvious.
it really boils down to moving past the surface hype, being sharper in how you assess teams and markets, and maybe finding gold where others aren't even digging. This insight from Songhurst gives you a powerful lens, really, for thinking critically about startups, whether you invest, build, or just follow them.
Yeah, and maybe the final thought, sort of echoing Songhurst, is that greatness might not come from some secret sauce. It might just come from consistently, diligently avoiding the common known pitfalls.
Just doing the fundamentals well, stage after stage, and avoiding those big mistakes we talked about.
Exactly. Maybe that's the most direct path. It makes you wonder, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Where are the overlooked opportunities, the non-obvious entrepreneurs, hiding in your field of interest? Something to think about.